Hello and welcome to the all-new Boxster Spyder. First of all, let's show you around the car and highlight the important details as to what makes this possibly the best Boxster and the most interesting Spyder so far.
Okay, so let's have a first look at the new Boxster Spyder, starting with the front and this pretty substantial front splitter. Now, photos don't do it justice, but this is so deep. This is a massive part of the revised aero that has taken place on both the Cayman GT4 and the Boxster Spyder. We've got increased downforce as well as revised aeroflow. Of course, the Boxster Spyder differs from the GT4 in that it doesn't have the larger rear fixed wing, and what Porsche had to do in order to make sure that this car was still stable at higher speeds is to revise the rear diffuser in order to control airflow. Now, interestingly, this solution was so effective that this is a component which actually went over to GT4 to improve that car, which is quite rare for a Spyder to influence the coupe. Now, the car is obviously a retractable roof, but it's not fully automated.
Okay, let's walk through how to remove the roof from the Boxster Spyder. So this is a semi-automated process. Some electrics involved, some automation, but the majority of it is actually manual. So first of all, you release the catches from the inside here, like this. Windows drop down, catches get released, boot in the back or sort of storage area gets released. Then you have to manually remove these flying buttresses here. There is actually an invisible button. So if you just press on them, your thumb around about there, you feel a little button and they just fold out like that. You have to do these both sides, like so. Fold those. And then you have to manually move this big, beautiful double bubble storage area back like so. This is also an opportunity to show you the second boot. Of course, this is now a truly mid-engine Porsche, so while you have storage in the front, you've also got storage in the back, and it's pretty decent too. And then, because it's all been unlatched inside from the automation side of things, you just kind of fold it back like so. Not bad. Make sure that's all down and in place. Come back round to the back. Job's a good one. And then you would fold that down there, and we have the same on that side. Hop in, enjoy open air driving.
A personal styling favorite of mine is the double bubble tonneau cover here. Look at the sculpture on this. It's quite difficult on a flat white paint to show it up, but look at the shape of this. It's so iconic. And actually, for me, from the rear, I think the Spyder has hit the sweet spot aesthetically. Just how good it looks. Check it out. I particularly like these sort of fogged, smoked lights following through with this black band here. We've got these really heavily pronounced letters on the Porsche logo, which sit wonderfully on this stunning little flicked wing at the back there. Look how well that sits. It's such a beautiful styling characteristic of this car. One new addition to the front is these air curtains, which are designed to channel air down the side of the car, keeping it close to the body to reduce dirty airflow, as it were, and importantly, channeling air into the radiator intakes down there. Spyder and Cayman GT4 come as standard with steel brakes, but there is the option to upgrade to the carbon ceramics, and they come as standard on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 sticky tyres. One of the unique styling traits of the Spyder is these flying buttresses. I love how you can see straight through there into the bodywork, and it sort of shelters the Spyder logo here. It just looks beautiful, and that for me is what the Spyder is all about. It's pure road enjoyment and driving, but stylistically I actually prefer it to the GT4. It just strikes me as a sweet spot. Now, when we jump in the car in a minute to show you and tell you more about this platform, what it's based on and why it's special, just quickly, it is effectively the GT4 where the roof comes off, which is a distinct difference compared with the previous generation Boxster Spyder versus the previous gen Cayman GT4. So that's the general overview of the styling out of the way. as beautiful as it is, let's hop inside and we'll share with you some glossy B-roll of this wonderful car as I talk you through the highlights as to what makes this thing truly special.
So what is it that makes this car so special? Well, the previous generation Boxster Spyder, despite the fact that it was received to pretty high acclaim, it was closer in relation to the Boxster GTS than it was the GT4. This car, this is where it gets very interesting, is basically a GT4 in terms of chassis, suspension, handling, dynamics, and even engine. But in this, you can really think of it as a GT4 where the roof comes off, despite the fact that it's called a Boxster. And what's it made up of? Well, first of all, the car is 30 kilograms lighter. It's longer by 10 millimeters, lower by 11 mil compared to the GTS. And just like the GT4, the front end is a lot more aggressive, utilizing more aero. And this car, because it doesn't have a rear wing like the GT4, is also utilizing quite a lot of ground effect and a revised rear diffuser. But what makes this car really stand out is that unlike the current 718 platform of cars from Porsche, which utilize the 4-cylinder turbocharged setup, Porsche have gone and put the naturally aspirated block in this. Still a 6-cylinder, but the key here is that it's manual, it's naturally aspirated, and it's 4 litre. And while this isn't a pure GT engine, it has been tuned by the GT division of Porsche, just like the chassis. So while some purists might not say this is a true GT car, to me, it's heading certainly in the right direction. Yes, it doesn't have a GT engine like from a GT3, so the red line is 8,000, but the main thing is that this has the naturally aspirated beefy engine. Now, despite the fact that we've lost the turbochargers, there is in fact more torque in this car. At 310 pounds-feet of torque and 414 brake horsepower. But the internals are all bespoke to the car, and this is where the GT division have got involved. So new pistons, new rods, totally revised engine which has been specifically developed for the GT4 and the Boxster Spyder. What that results in is over 400 horsepower delivered through, importantly, a 6-speed manual gearbox, and we also have revised aero to apply it all to the floor with a little bit more precision. But this is still a proper GT product through and through, predominantly from chassis, suspension setup, I also believe is from GT3, and the engine has been fully tuned and had dedicated development from the GT division. So I cannot wait to see what they've managed to do with this platform. And we also have a proper mechanical locking rear diff. Now, interior obviously feels very familiar Porsche. The car that I'm currently sat in has the infotainment and sat-nav option deleted. So we just have this sort of cubbyhole void on the inside where you could store your phone. I guess this configuration of this particular car is probably the lightest you could spec it, but I think if you were to use this car on a regular, you would definitely spec it with the full infotainment system. Plus, I think it would be nice to have some good music playing once you have this roof down, despite the fact that I am sure this is going to sound excellent. And by the way, that little rear spoiler, while you can open and close it yourself, it does automatically extend at around about 74 miles an hour. So I guess you'll be seeing plenty of it, but the profile of it, particularly from the side with this extendable wing, it just looks awesome. So in effect, think of this as a convertible GT4. The platform is exactly the same. Andreas Pruninger from Porsche himself has said that this is effectively a GT4 where the roof comes off. So that to me sounds like it's the best of both worlds. I mean, it would be just as good on track. Granted, it doesn't have the big wing over the back. It does have a gorgeous little ducktail style flick, but there's more ground effect, which is going to make for this thing to be such a stable platform that even though it is more of a road biased platform, I think on track it's going to be so much fun. Right now, I'm on this sort of engagement trip. So I'm trying to find cars which you don't necessarily have to drive quickly in order to get enjoyment from them. And there's definitely something about taking the roof off a car, isn't there? Everything from the sense of sound to the sense of smell, it's just that extra connection with the environment around you. So it just provides another level of engagement and enjoyment without having to drive the car too quickly. For me, this is an entirely different use case and enjoyment proposition. And as always, I'd love to hear from you guys how you think this car should be spec'd. As of now, I'm not aware if PTS is available. For those of you guys wondering what PTS is, it's Porsche's abbreviation for paint to sample, which basically allows you to have the car in any color you want. And I also don't know what interior options are available. But for the case of this video, in the comments below, let's assume anything is available. And what I would love to see from you guys, if you have the time, configure a car, play with it on Photoshop, upload it to Instagram and tag me in it. I would love to see your ideas of what a Boxster Spyder could look like. Fingers crossed we hear of PTS in the UK. Sadly, it wasn't an option for GT3s for whatever reason. Let's hope they've pulled it out for Boxster Spyder and GT4.
As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Ciao!